Record better sounding voiceovers with these tips. What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name's Mike Hathcote. I'm a full-time voice actor and author of the book, The Voiceover Blueprint, which you can pick up in the description and pinned comment below for less than $10, plus 4 free gifts. And today we're going to talk about recording better quality voiceovers. So by the end of this video, and after I rattle off these tips, you're going to learn ways to record better, cleaner, more professional sounding audio, even if you don't have a fancy schmancy booth like the one I'm in now. And before we get any deeper, if you want to go beyond just audio and learn everything there is to know about growing and maintaining your voiceover business, then check out the Voiceover Blueprint training program. That's my main program where you can learn all aspects of voiceover. And if you want to learn more about it, there's a link in the pinned comment and description below where you can book a free call. Okay, let's get into it. Tip number 1, before you even hit record, is find a quiet space in your house. Now, this doesn't need to be a big fancy booth like this, but it does need to be quiet. So that means you need to stay away from fans and air conditioning systems and windows and traffic and kids and that kind of thing. Make sure that whatever area you choose in your house, it's as far away from that stuff as possible. Closets are actually good for this, even closets that are being used as closets, because they've got clothing hanging in there, and those clothes act as a natural sound dampening material. Have you ever noticed when you walk into a walk-in closet, the sound changes? There's a lot less reverb and bounciness in the sound. That's perfect for recording voiceovers. Avoid big open rooms and hardwood floors and that kind of thing. If you have hardwood floors, then maybe get some carpeting or some throw rugs or even blankets to put down on the floor just to cut down on some of that bounciness. All right, tip number 2 is controlling the space. So now that you've picked a space in your house to record, now it's time to treat that space with blankets or whatever you can find around the house. The main thing you want to shoot for is to make things as dead as possible. And by dead, I mean less bounciness or boxiness or reverb. You want as many soft surfaces in that space as possible. I've seen people, and I personally, even in like an Airbnb, have used mattresses. You can take a mattress off of a bed and stand it up on its side and actually make a little enclosure. I actually did that in an Airbnb a few years ago, and it worked perfectly. They had hardwood floors, but they had several beds that we weren't using. So because I was working that week, I dragged those mattresses into this room and built a fort out of mattresses, and it worked great. Another thing you want to look for is your noise floor. And basically your noise floor is just a term for the ambient sound of your space or your room. That's things like your air conditioning or fans or any other noises around your house that are coming into your booth. Now, the way you check this is you just get into your booth, hit record, and your DAW should be able to show you what your noise floor is. And that's basically the sound of your space with nothing happening. So when you hit record, just hold your breath, record for a few seconds, and you'll be able to listen back and see if you can hear kind of a hum or whatever the sound of your space is. The target noise floor you should be looking for is about minus 60 decibels. And if you can't quite get there organically, there are ways that you can use plugins and things like that to actually remove some of that excess noise floor. So some DAWs have built-in tools to do that. Others you can buy and add on. But that's what you should be shooting for, is about minus 60 decibels for your noise floor. Okay, tip number 3 is using the right microphone. We've talked about microphones a lot on this channel, but I want to reiterate the best ones to go with here. You want to go for a large diaphragm condenser microphone as opposed to a dynamic microphone, which is more like a traditional mic you would see on stage for like a concert. Some good favorites for entry-level and kind of medium-level microphones would be like the Rode NT1 or the Audio-Technica AT 2020 or 2035. Those aren't going to break the bank, but they are good, solid, quality microphones that you can use to record your audio. Also, avoid any kind of headset microphone, like a gaming headset or whatever, with the little, one that comes down in front. Those sound thin and hollow, and they sound like, what you would hear on a telephone. So make sure that you are recording with a good, decent quality microphone And most people will usually start with an XLR microphone, meaning that the XLR microphone plugs into an interface that you can then plug into your computer. A really good starter interface would be the Focusrite Scarlett Solo. You plug the microphone into the interface goes into the computer, and you're good to go. Remember, even a great microphone is going to sound terrible in an untreated space. So your space is just as important as the microphone. Okay, tip number 4, mic proximity. Okay, mic proximity just means how far away from the microphone your mouth is. And there's a couple of rules of thumb. The first one you may have heard about is the shaka, or the hang loose symbol. That's usually around 6 inches. And about 6 inches to 8 inches is about where you want to be from the microphone. And when I say from the microphone, I don't mean from the pop filter. I don't mean from the tip of the microphone. I mean from the diaphragm of the microphone. So about that far is where you want to be from the microphone. The next thing you want to do with your microphone is you want to speak past it. You're not speaking directly into it. So you want to have it kind of up and off axis. So never face the microphone and talk directly into it. Always speak past the microphone. That way, you're not running into things like plosives and sibilants as much as you would if you were speaking directly into it.
And now for something completely different.
Black Friday is almost here, guys, and we here at the VoiceOver Blueprint are doing something pretty special, something we've never done before. So if you want to be the first to find out about what this insane deal is for Black Friday, there's a link in the description and pinned comment below where you can sign up and be on the waiting list to be the first ones to find out when this thing drops. So if you're serious about your voiceover career, you do not want to miss this. So more details coming soon.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
Okay, speaking of plosives, that's tip number 5, is try to prevent plosives. Now, we talked about putting the microphone off axis, but there are other ways that you can cut that down. The first is using a pop filter, which is the round, mesh thing that you can put in front of a microphone that will help cut down some of those hard P's and D's and B's in your microphone. Another way to cut down on plosives is if you don't have a large diaphragm condenser mic and you have kind of a shotgun mic like I've got here, you can use one of these wind socks. And this is just a styrofoam squishy sock that goes over the microphone itself, and it acts as a pop filter. There are other pop filters that you can get that are little grills that maybe will wrap around a shotgun mic, or some of the round pop filters come in metal now, and they do the same thing. Tip number 6, get your levels right. Okay, the first thing that a lot of people don't realize when they first start recording voiceovers is how loud do they need to be in their DAW. So here's what you want to look for. When you've opened up your DAW and you start to read, make sure that you are peaking. In other words, the waveforms on the DAW are peaking at between -6 and -9 decibels. That is kind of the average peaking level that you want to be at, just at your normal speaking voice. Of course, later on, once you run your processing and all that, you'll probably normalize to somewhere like -3 decibels. But as far as just your normal peaking level, should be between -6 and -9. Now, it doesn't need to always stay at that level. It's going to go up and down depending on what you're saying. But as a general rule, when you look across your DAW, your timeline, you want to look at the scale over on the right, or wherever you have yours, and it should be normally peaking in that range. Now, your level meter is going to be bouncing as you're speaking, and you want to monitor that as well, because it can be in the green, in the yellow, or in the red. And the way you kind of remember this is, I'm going to steal from a buddy of mine, George Whittam. He has a little thing that you can remember on how the levels work. And it goes like this. If it's green, you're lean. If it's yellow, it's mellow. And if it's in the red, you're dead. Okay, so what does that mean? That means you want to shoot for the yellow, because yellow is kind of the sweet spot. If it's green, you're a little low. If it's red, it's a little hot. And you also want to make sure that you don't clip. And clipping is just another way of saying going above 0. That means that the audio file goes above 0 and will distort when you play it back. Whenever you play it back, it'll go like that, and it won't sound right. So if it's green, it's too lean. If it's yellow, it's mellow. And if it's red, you're dead. Tip number 7 is make sure you take out all your mistakes. And what I like to use is this little dog clicker. So whenever I'm recording, I use this little clicker when I make a mistake on the read. So I make a mistake, I click, and it spikes the waveform so I know exactly where I made the mistake, and everything after that mistake is the good one. Now, some people don't use a clicker. Some people will clap. Some people will make a noise with their mouth. Some people don't do anything. But I find that the clicker works great. In fact, I've worn this thing down. It used to be textured, and I've worn it slick because I literally cannot record without this thing in my left hand. And then when you're going through and doing your edit, just take out all the mistakes and listen for any kind of mouth clicks or mouth pops and that kind of thing. And by the way, that happens to everyone. Everyone has mouth noise. Don't feel like you're by yourself in that. Just make sure that you're either manually removing that stuff or you're using the software to do it. Okay, the next tip is over-processing your audio. A lot of people, when they first start in voiceover, they think they need to add all kinds of stuff to it to polish it up and make it sound more professional. And while some of that stuff can be helpful, a lot of people will overdo it. Your job is to deliver nice, clean, professional audio, not over-processed junk. So just use just a little bit of, if you need a little bit of EQ to kind of, take away some bass or to add some treble, you can do that. Maybe just a tiny bit of processing if you need to add some compression or whatever. And then any kind of noise removal, noise floor reduction and that kind of thing. And that's really it. Another thing I want to remind you about is running your audio by an engineer. Once you've got your booth set up, make sure you send a sample to an engineer, and they can create what's called an effects rack. And that effects rack will be adding just enough processing to make it sound good without overdoing it. Okay, tip number 9 is making sure your audio has the right settings. And that starts at the very beginning before you even start to record. A good rule of thumb when you're setting up your file initially is either record in 44,100 Hertz or 48,000 Hertz. And also record in 16-bit depth. And there you go. There's 9 tips that you can use to make sure that your audio sounds as professional as possible. I hope you found this useful, and if you did, and if you have any other tips that maybe I didn't mention, drop a comment down below and let me know. And of course, if you like this video and these kinds of videos, feel free to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you can get them as quickly as possible. And since we talked about microphones, if you want to go a bit deeper on some different microphones that you can pick up on several different kinds of budgets, then feel free to check out this video right here.